So Robert, I think we are all set. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Robert Phillips. Robert is one of our partners working with us from a company called Presidio, and he is going to be conducting our training today. So Robert, go right ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Holly. And welcome, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're dialing in from. Try to be on my best behavior as well. It looks like we've got our second largest class, right? I think yesterday's afternoon class was around 100. This one's around 73. So really good participation. And seems like everyone's eager to learn the new systems as we move over to the Microsoft platform. Just a little bit about myself. I've been working for Presidio for about 6 years in various different roles, but I've been in the Microsoft ecosystem now for over 20 years. I've done a lot of migrations like this, so I've seen almost everything. Like Holly said, if there's questions that you have that we don't cover, put them in the chat, and we'll make sure that we get you an answer. These types of migrations, the success factor of these is basically the user acceptance of the new platforms and how well they start using it. So that's hence the training. We want to make sure everybody is understanding of what you can and can't do within the environment. So happy to have you here. Let me share my screen and make sure everybody can see that. Somehow I lost the, oh, there it is. All right. Move the video over here. All right, Holly, just a thumbs up. Can you see my window screen? Good, great. All right. So like Holly stated, we're going to walk through some things to get you started basically in Office 365, some of the key pieces. We know you're coming from Google Drive and Google Keep, Google Workspaces, so we want to make sure there's some sort of equivalent to all the tools that you've used in the past in the Microsoft world, and kind of show you, at least whet your appetite on what those look like, how to access those. We also understand that we have various different users. Some people use Chromebooks and therefore have access to what we call the online applications only. Other people have desktops and or laptops or tablets. And they typically have the full suite of applications available to them. So as we go through the presentation and training, we'll flip back and forth between the online applications for a Chromebook, but we'll spend more time on the desktop features. Typically, those features are a little more full featured, and we can demonstrate more in those. So we want to make sure we hit everybody with the training that we have. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my web browser. In this case, it's Microsoft Edge or Internet Explorer. And then I've got some favorites set here already with the URLs that we want to go to. But the first one that I want to go to is one called portal.office.com. And then there's another. These are the couple of key ones to remember. The other one is called myapplications.microsoft.com. And the importance of these two is really it's your starting point, everything in the CareMedics domain. So you can see from the My Applications one, I can get to my intranet here. I can get to my e-training library, which we're going to go through in a little bit. You will have access to G Suite, so it's not completely going away. If you need to access things in the old system, you can still do that. You've got ServiceNow, you've got some other apps here as well. Once Office is officially added to your feature set for applications, that will be in here as well. So that's your My Applications piece of this. If we go over to the Microsoft Office Home, which I started with here. So this is basically where my starting point for anything Office 365, okay? When I come in here, I can see like the last few documents that I worked with or authored or shared. I shared this one, I opened this one, I edited this one. So you can see, depending on the actions that I did, it'll show up here in the recommended documents that I have. I also have some quick access documents here at the bottom. Again, I can filter this by recently opened. I can filter this by what's been shared with me. And I can see over here who shared it in this column. So it's just a real quick kind of desktop of, what you have in the environment today. On the left-hand side over here, I'm currently sitting in the home area. If I click my content, that takes me to all my file shares that I have. And that could consist of my OneDrive. And what OneDrive is think of that as your personal folder, right? All your personal files, your personal documents, everything that you had in your G drive is going to be moved over to there. There's also a location called SharePoint, and SharePoint is basically set up for anything that is a corporate related file, right? So if I click my cloud files here, I can see at the top, I've got a couple options. I can go right to my OneDrive up here, which is all my personal folders, and I'm just going to open this in another tab here, I think. It might just let me do that. All right, so there's my personal folders that I have. And I also know, because I've accessed it before, that this EUS folder here and this folder mapping, these are SharePoint. These are corporate drives. So I'm going to open my SharePoint corporate drive in another file here, maybe. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to go back to the home menu here. Actually, let's just go back to SharePoint. I want to start you out at the default area for SharePoint, so. And it's not going to do that. There we go. There we go. This is where I was trying to get to. So SharePoint, again, caremedics.sharepoint.com. That's the URL to get to the high level of all the SharePoint sites. It'll show you your frequented sites here. You can go and look at all the sites globally. So if I click shared drives, this will show me everything that the company is sharing, basically from a network or a shared document, shared file repository, okay? Now, you may not have access to everything that's here. Like, for instance, if I click sales and I don't have permission to it, I'm going to see a prompt here that just says, you don't have permission to this, you need it. Basically, you would type a message here, request access, and it would go to the administrator to allow you access to that site. There's another folder that's going to be key to this as well. So these are all the drives that will be mapped over at some point. I know for a fact that I've got access to this IT US folder. So EUS, in a minute, we'll work from there so you can see what the documents look like. There's also a folder or a link called SharePoint folder mapping. Okay, and if I click on the SharePoint folder mapping and give it a second while it opens here, it'll expand so it doesn't look so small. I can see that this contains all the folders and shared drives that were in Google Drive before. It tells me who the owners are of those. So I've got an education and development here that Holly owns. If I basically scroll across the top here, this is going to be the new SharePoint site name for that. Let me just copy that. And if I wanted to paste that into a URL or a browser here, it should take me right to that folder. It's probably going to tell me I need access again. So in most cases, you'll have access to these. If you had access to it in Google, you'll have access to it here, and it will open up, in a folder that you can actually see files similar to this one right here. So I know I have access to this IT EUS. I'm going to open that one up. And this is the normal practice that you would see. You open up a repository and it's got a bunch of different folders inside. We'll open up this test folder here, and you can see there's a document in here called test doc. I know I have access to that as well. So this is basically SharePoint. If I want to do anything on this file, I can obviously click it and it's going to open it up in a new window here. Again, very basic Word document. If I want to see any of the options that I have with this, or if I want to share it with somebody else, I can literally hover over and click this little arrow with the share button here, and it'll just pop open a thing that allows me to share this file with anyone. I can type in their email, right? I can share this with Caleb. I can add another person. I could just type a name in here. So Melissa Wheeler I can add, and you can see as I type, it's trying to populate the names in the address book it finds that match. Okay. Now I can send a quick message around this, like, hey, I'm sharing this document with you. I can, if for whatever reason I'm using Teams or I'm using something else, I can actually just copy the link to this file. Okay, so it's creating a link for me now. I can copy this, and now I can paste this into almost anything that you can use within the Office suite of products, which we'll get to that in a little bit. Some other things that I can do here, if I click the three dots, these are all the options or actions that I have on this document. So if I click the three dots, I can walk down this menu here for you. Open, I can open it in a browser like we did over here. I can actually open it in the app itself. So if I click this, it's going to open right up in Word. I can preview this document, which just gives me a short little preview of the document. I can share it, same as sharing it here, exactly the same. I can copy that link. So if I want to bypass everything, just copy a link and share it with people, I can do that. I can manage who has access to it. So if I've given access in the past, you can see that Joseph and myself are the owners. I can go, whoops, didn't want to do that. I can go through and actually revoke access, edit access. So if they only have reader access, I can make them editor, or vice versa. If they have editor, I can revoke it and move them back to read-only access. Some other options I can do here. I can download a copy of this. A key one here, copy, move to other folders. I can rename it. Version history is a great one. So I can go through and see that this was originally created on 7/9 with Joseph, and then my training user edited it this morning at 9:14 a.m. If Joseph came in here and realized that I wrote over something that he needed, he could easily come back here, click on his version, and restore it. And it will restore back that version that he had. So it's going to track all the version history and everything within the document. Okay. Now, for those of you that are desktop users, if I open up my desktop here and I go to Windows File Explorer, let me just close some of these other windows I have. All right. So you're probably familiar with this, just Windows File Explorer. I'm going to expand it a little bit. You can see I've got a couple things here. OneDrive, which we're going to come back to with my personal files that I have. And then I have this Caremetrics. It looks like a set of office buildings. So this would be my SharePoint repository. And it's going to contain anything that I have access to from a folder level. So again, I know that the only one I have access to is the EUS one. If I click Documents, I've got my two folders. There's my test file here. It looks exactly the same as it does here. And again, basically, if I right-click on this, I can see a lot of the same menu options I had as clicking on the three dots in SharePoint. One thing that we didn't talk about because it's already been done, but in order to get this down to my local PC so that it's syncing, there is a sync button here. If I go back to home and I click on the EUS folder that I have, come on. We go. There's a sync button right here, right? If I select sync, so it's already been done. It's not going to say anything to me, but if I wanted a copy of those documents, I'm already syncing it. It says down here in the lower right-hand corner. And that's why these are showing up in my desktop, in my file system. Okay. If I go in here on the test doc, like I said, I can look at a lot of the same items that I did online. So I can share it from here. I can view the version history just like we just did. You'll see it's exactly the same. And Joseph, again, from here could go and restore a version back. He could delete an old version if we know the new one's good and we don't need it anymore. Lots of different options that you can do. Okay, so I'm going to pause on the SharePoint thing before we move to OneDrive. Let's just make sure there's no questions around SharePoint. Okay, I don't see any questions, so I think we can move forward here. So again, the next section that we'll go through, let me just close these SharePoint leads here. I'm going to close my apps as well. All right, here's Here's my view of my OneDrive, which is basically all my files, my personal files. I've synced this already again, so it's already synced down to my desktop. The thing about syncing files down, so if I just, let me just copy a file up to here. I want to copy something that's not synced. They're all synced. Let's just take the test folder here and we'll drag it up here. So you notice I can drag and drop between the internet browser, you know, whether I'm using a Chromebook, a desktop, whatever it takes, I can drag and drop it into the other one. Now you'll notice that when I open this back up, now I've got a new file here, test docs, that I moved up here under mine. It's already synced with my local machine. You'll notice though that some of these have a green checkbox or green arrow. Some of them have a couple of lines. That means, or arrows, that means it's currently syncing that folder. Some of them have a cloud only. And what that means is I've never opened that on my desktop. So that file in particular is going to stay in the cloud until I open it, right? It's not going to automatically sync to my desktop. And the reason that that's set that way is, you know, as a corporation, we're trying to save space on people's local machines. You know, for the purpose of the training, we've been opening a lot of these documents. That's why most of them have their circle with the green check mark on it. But for the test doc one that we just opened, you can see it's cloud only. So until I actually open that on my desktop and I open it in Word, make some changes. Okay, it's automatically doing a save. So the way that the OneDrive set up, you can see at the top, it's doing a save right now, automatically saving changes as soon as you make them. Once that's done saving, it should let us know here in a second. Let me just minimize this. And you can see that if I look at the test doc here, it's still trying to do the changes here. Let's just make sure it finishes. Not sure why it's taking so long. Okay, so now I see test doc saved, right? When I go back to the folder here and I just refresh this folder, and normally I don't even have to refresh this, it'll automatically sync this up and this will turn into a green arrow as well. Actually, let me just close this one down. That should kick off a save. There we go. So now you can see that's turned from a cloud only document to now this one is synced offline on my desktop as well. Okay, let's just walk through sharing drives, sharing links offline. We talked about that. We'll work through how to sync these up and save these documents here in a little bit, both in Teams and Outlook. We'll walk through co-authoring tools with these. So, you know, one of the things that we'll show you here as we jump into Teams is how we can actually author all these documents together. We can make changes together. I can see what other people are doing to the documents. Really works really well. So any other questions around OneDrive, my files, SharePoint, where these exist, both in the cloud on the Chromebook, as well as in the cloud and on the desktop PC if you're syncing it to your file explorer? Okay, you guys are
Nothing
a quiet
in the
group.
chat. Mm-hmm.
Quiet
It's
group.
after
Okay.
lunch.
Yeah, everybody's in a coma, right? All right. So let's jump into Teams next. So a couple ways that we can access Teams. If we go back to our Office home, you'll see that on the left-hand navigation here, we've got My Content, then we have Outlook, which is our email. We'll jump into that in a little bit. Then we have Teams. So if I click Teams, it's going to open up a new tab here, and it's going to open up my Teams client. And at the same time this is opening, I'm going to open it up on my desktop as well. Someone had a question earlier in the training, like, how do I make these icons at the bottom always stay here? And simple answer is, if you when you open it the first time or as it's opened, you can either right click on it and say right now it says unpin because I have it pinned from the taskbar, but basically right click and pin to taskbar. And that will make sure that even if you close Teams down, it stays here all the time. So it's really easy to get into it. All right, so this is my desktop version. I'm going to scroll back here and open up the browser. And you can see I'm just going to go to activity. So we're at the same point on both of these. Okay. We'll work from the desktop just so it's easier. So you can see that your Teams client, basically the way that it's set up is if we come across the very top here, you've got a large search box, and that's really helpful. Everything's indexed once it gets loaded in here. And you can search on any kind of text, right? And that can be embedded in messages, it can be in files, it can be in chat sessions. So, you know, we've searched, I can even search by people. So show me anything that I have from Robert, right? And it'll bring me right to the last chat that I had with Robert. If I had a training document, let's say Outlook plus 2019, it would bring me anything that I've seen. So I've got no messages, no people, but I did share a file called Outlook 2019 training PDF. Okay, I can open that file if that's what I'm looking for. So there's a lot of things that you can do. You can put things in quotes. You know, if you want to make sure that they are, that it's all one word. Whoops, I didn't do the quotes. Okay. And this should render something similar. All right, so there's a little bit more in the chats that I had around 2019. As you can see, there's one with a dash here. So that shows up in some of these messages that I have. Okay. So search is great, works phenomenal if you're looking for something quick. As I keep coming across the top of the screen here, I see a set of dots right here. These are all my settings for my Teams client. So if I click the settings icon, it opens up a window here that prompts me with all my settings. I've got some general settings. I can change the contrast colors. I can auto start the application when I open Windows. I can open the application in background, lots of different things that you can do in here. Automatically schedule out of office. If I only work Monday through Thursday or something like that, I could schedule it to turn that on Fridays. If I click down through here, accounts, this shows me my actual CareMedics mail account. Notifications is a key one. If I want to get notified when people, you know, chat me or mention me in a group or a Teams setting or a channel, I'll be able to see those in the lower right-hand corner here. Sometimes those can get a little busy, so you may want to shut those off, but you've got full customization as to how you want to be notified when anything new pops up for you. Next thing down is the devices. So if you've got, you know, multiple Bluetooth headsets, things like that, you can set up all your audio in here, your microphones. If you have a video camera and you want to do video chatting, you can do all that in here as well. And so that's pretty much the things that we cover in the settings piece. And the next icon over is actually my training user icon. I really should put a picture in here, but so if I click that user on with a left click, it tells me that I'm currently in a meeting. I can edit the status message here. I'm training the company via Zoom today. So I'll keep that message. If anybody hovers over my name, they'll see that. And I can turn it off or on in an hour. So I know this is over in a couple hours. I'll just say turn off at 2 p.m. Okay. I can also change my online presence, right? So if we look here, and I've got mine set to red right now, and that's because it defaulted that because I'm in a meeting. If I wanted to make myself available, I could click that and it's going to turn me green up here. Okay. Or if I wanted to have do not disturb, that's going to hide any kind of notifications or messages, things like that people send me. So if I'm presenting or something like that and I don't want to be disturbed, just set it on do not disturb and then you won't get any notifications. Holly, could you just send me a quick chat so I can show them what that looks like? So if I just open up the browser or actually open up File Explorer here. So normally if I got a new chat, I would, it would show up in the lower right-hand corner and it would, interrupt my desktop. You can see that Holly just sent me a chat, but it's not interrupting me, right? It's basically just blinking the Teams icon at the bottom. It's flashing a 1 telling me that I have a new chat message, right? But it's not disturbing me. So if I open that, then I can see, oh yeah, I've got one chat here and here it is. Okay. So that's the do not disturb. Let's just go back and we'll set that. I can appear away, I can appear offline, all these different things I can set. Right now, I'll just set it to available again. Maybe, there we go. And so next we're gonna go down the left-hand side here. So we'll start at the top with activity. And basically that's a feed that if anybody like mentions me or there's something that somebody shares with me or does with me in Teams, it'll typically show up in the feed here first, just to show me what, Caleb may be an owner of this training channel. He added me to it, then he made me an owner. Holly reacted to one of my meeting requests this morning. So it just gives you a quick feed. The next thing down is chat, actual chat. And it's real easy, like to add people to chat to here, right? If I just search someone's name, I'm gonna pick on Vivian. So, I've never chatted. You can see I've never had a chat with her here, but if I open this up now, it's opening up Vivian. I can see that she's available. She's green. And I can just open up a new chat. Okay. So real easy to chat to people singularly. If I wanted to set up basically a structured group chat, I could literally just add people to this chat here. So if I wanted Vivian and Holly, I could just add Holly to this as well. And now it's gone from 1 person to 2. And I can include chat history if I need to. Okay. And then there's a couple other things that you can do. So if I wanted to create a group chat, you'll see we have a Teams training Tuesday morning. We have a Teams training Monday afternoon. Let's set up a Teams training Tuesday afternoon. And meanwhile, Vivian sent us a great, and you can see she sent a little snapshot GIF or video. So you can be really creative and fun in these chat sessions. It's, we'll go through all the different things that you can do here. For now, let's set up that group chat. So I'll click the new chat thing here. It opens up a 2 here. I'm going to just drop it down with this arrow on the right to add my group name. And we're going to call this Teams Training Tuesday afternoon. Okay. And then my next line down is all the people that I want to add to the training. Okay. And I can basically just start typing. And earlier, we mentioned today was Taco Tuesday, so. And I'll have to do a different one this time. All right. So you can be very creative. And, I can see immediately when people are typing to me. Now I'm getting my notifications again, and just we'll pop back on the team site here. If I go into the chat on the browser version, I can see that people are typing to me here. That's why the 3 dots are moving. And you'll see that it's exactly the same as it is on the desktop. Okay. Some other things that we can do in here. So maybe I want to include a document so that we can all co-author it together. Okay. I can click the paperclip here and I get an option. Do I want to upload something from my computer, which would be something local, and I really, unless it's stored in my OneDrive or SharePoint, I won't be able to co-author or share it, or I can create something from my OneDrive location. So what I'm going to do is we'll open up, let's see, we'll open up a training document here. I think it's this one, and I'll just share this to the group. And basically it's saying people in my organization with the link can edit this. I can change just by clicking the arrow, I can change any of the settings in here and say they can read only, specific people have access, etc. I can block them from downloading a copy of this. I've got all kinds of options that I can do. Okay, so I'm going to send this OneDrive document to them in Teams. And then I'm going to open it. So I'm going to click on the 3 dots. I'm going to say open in Word. And here's my document. And you can see these guys are already in here. So Holly's in here, designated HF. Melissa's in here. And you can see that they're actually editing the document. I can see everything that they're doing. Looks like Melissa's up here at the top. And as they're changing things, again, it's doing a save. So it's saving the documents in my OneDrive and all the changes. Make something red, bold, increase it a little. Okay, so all of those things are being changed and saved in here at the same time. If I go back to my OneDrive and my location where this document lives, so it's going to be this one here. You can see it's got the save going on again because it's being changed, actively being changed. Now, if I look at version history, I have a lot more in my list right now, so I can see that, you know, Holly made updates to it. Holly made updates 24 seconds ago, 5 hours ago. It'll show me when Melissa's changes have been made, any of my changes have been made. So you can see it's very full featured as far as co-authoring goes and updating documents. Okay, Melissa's added some comments in here. Okay, awesome stuff, right? And again, whether it's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, any of the collaboration tools that you have, you can co-author all of them together basically the same way. Okay, so before we go back to the other features of Teams, the training and the calendars, things like that, I just want to pause quickly. Any questions around co-authoring Teams? Anything else, just post them in the chat. It looks like 5.9 will be staying in place.
We've got, can the co-authored docs stay in Teams?
Yep.
What, Dorothy, what do you mean by let pinning?
I have a document that our team updates daily in Excel, and I was trying to figure out how to share that with them so that they could co-author it every day. And I see that this is something that might work. If I share the document in Teams, because it's daily running, is there any way that we could pin that co-authored document to the top of the Teams feed so that people wouldn't have to go up and down daily to find it?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, because you're going to get probably more chats and this thing's going to get buried and hidden, right? A couple different ways. Obviously, you can use the search to find it, but really the easiest way to do it is, you see my title of my team here at the top. So I've got my chat window open now, but I've also got a files tab as well. So if I click files, it's always going to be right here. And it's the same file. It still resides in my OneDrive. It's not pinned to Teams, but it stays in OneDrive. Now, if you had a Teams channel, you could actually pin the file in Teams and everybody could work from it out of Teams versus my OneDrive. But this could be SharePoint. So this could be sitting in a SharePoint repository. If you share it here in Teams, you know, it's going to stay pinned here as well. It's just going to reside in SharePoint.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey, Robert, I don't know if this is the right place to mention this, and Caleb, you can jump in as well. But one of the things that we want to make sure everyone understands is the schedule that's taking place with the migration. Caleb, do you think that this is a good place to mention, or do you want to wait?
Sure, we can mention it now.
Okay. The only reason that I want to make sure that we understand it is because I'm concerned if people are going to be making changes and updates and documents. Do you want to talk about that for just a second, Caleb, or do you want me to do it?
Sure, I can talk about it.
Okay.
So we've already gone through what we've called a pre-migration, which means the majority of the data that was on Google has been migrated to Office already. It does not include the latest changes to any documents or files that you've made in the past 30 days or so. That's going to be taking place this Friday and over this weekend. So while most of that data is over there right now, and you can actually go take a sneak peek in OneDrive and SharePoint and all those places, we're asking that you do not make any changes or work out of those services until this coming Monday. It's very important that you do not do that because it's possible the migration this weekend can overwrite items that you've worked on in OneDrive or SharePoint on the Microsoft side.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wanted everybody to understand that, so that what we're doing is, I think an email already came out, if it's not coming out right now, just to explain to everyone that the migration is going to start this Friday at 8 p.m. So from Friday at 8 p.m. till Monday at 7 a.m., we're asking everyone to please make sure to stay out of the systems. So we're giving everybody permission to take a weekend off and not work in the systems. Because what we want to do is be able to allow that migration to happen with no interruptions. That way you won't have any risks that something you work on is going to be overwritten. So please stay out of the systems as much as you can. Thank you for that little PSA. Go right ahead, Robert. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's crucial, like in migrations of this size, that you want to keep everything in sync, and it's tough to do that if things are changing in both places, right? So, and there was another question. It looks like my team's currently using Teams, and we do not hear a sound when receiving a message. We verified that the setting says we should. That's probably something you want to, open a help desk ticket for. It's likely machine related. I would ask, like, do you hear sounds with other applications, or does the sounds not come through at all? So there's a bunch of different things that need to be troubleshooted to fix that. So yeah, Astrid, I would open up a help desk ticket on that one and get some assistance. It should be something that's pretty easy to fix. Okay, couple more things in Teams before we jump out into Outlook. So, we just walked through the chat, and all the different things that you can do with that, whether it's fun GIFs or attachments that you want to share. There's the files across the top. So any files that are shared within the chat will show up here in a list, which makes it real easy to go in and edit. You can also add things here too. So earlier I've got a tablet, which I can type on and draw on. So I'm going to add a digital whiteboard here for the team. So, if we want to have virtual whiteboard sessions, we can do that. All these things can be saved and sent around and things like that. So it's really handy. So basically, as soon as I add this to the team site, everybody else has the same ability as I do to, to add to this. They can create text, they can create, any kind of drawings. I can say, here's my message here. And you can see that somebody else is drawing in the whiteboard too. And it has the, it can correct your spelling and things like that. We're not the greatest artists here, but you get the picture. Like there's there's a lot you can do with the whiteboard session, especially if you have a pen or something and you can write, on your tablet. It works a lot easier, right? So there's lots of good things you can do with the whiteboard thing. Earlier today, somebody wanted to know, like, I know you have a note keeping app in Google. I think it's called Keeper or something like that. The equivalent application in Microsoft is called OneNote. So maybe I want to share a OneNote repository with this team. So I'll just share this one here, called Notebook. And it'll set up a tab here as well. So you can see I can really get, pretty functional with this. Sorry about Jim's picture here, but I can do bullets, I can do numbers, I can do tables, screenshots. I can include my whiteboard in here as well. It saves that file. I can insert a link to other items and documents. The notebook's really kind of handy. Let me just go back to the whiteboard here. And you can see it's just going to load it back up again. Saves all of our things that the team was drawing at the time. So there's a lot of different things you can do with team chats. I mean, obviously the quickest thing is, hey, you got to talk to somebody really quick. You've got a quick question. You don't want to email back and forth. This is the easiest way to send things back and forth. So, okay. Another thing too, if I hover over some things that Holly stated here, I have the ability to do different things, thumbs up, smile, all kinds of different things. So you'll have to just get used to it, but there's a lot of things that you can do with the Microsoft Teams chat client. Should be very similar to Google Chat. So if we keep working our way down the left-hand navigation menu here, this Teams channel is right now reserved for IT. I'm sure at some point that will be opened up, and you can request to have a Teams channel created. That's something that will stay around a little bit more. Part of the reason they don't do that now is because it automatically creates distribution lists and groups and things like that. So you're really going to have some governance and controls around that. Stay tuned on that one. There's a lot of different things you can add to those as well. The next tab, or the next icon down, says Presidio. That's my company here. If you click that, we've provided a set of e-training tools for you, free of charge for a year, that go along with the licenses that we've stood up for you. So if there's something that we don't cover today and you want to go and search it, how do I do that in Teams or something like that? You can easily go in and search the course library, maybe Wiki Teams. All right, so and then I can see things come up where it's found that set of taking meeting notes with Wiki and Teams, right? And I can go right to that. Everything's, you and fellow colleagues can start taking notes. Everything's a 5-minute, 7-minute video or less. Some of them are quick, 30 seconds. It's really meant to give you a quick snapshot of training on something that you're looking to do. You've all been assigned some learning paths. So if you come in here, you can see, basically some places to get started. Microsoft 365 101, there's some mobile apps. People have asked, hey, how's this going to look on my phone or my Android? And you can see that, this is going to go through Outlook on the phone. It looks very different than anything I'm showing you. So it'll give you some training around that as well. I don't know if the sound was coming through or not, but it's confusing. So again, this is, you just click this button on the side, you'll have a link to it. Now, whether you're in the desktop client or the web version, you've got the same thing. Okay, so click the login, it's going to take you right there, and it opens up the same way. Underneath the Presidio icon is that shared drives. So again, this was the SharePoint piece we talked about earlier. So all the corporate shared folders and drives that you have access to are going to show up here. All right, so it's a real quick way. You don't have to come out of Teams. You can actually come in here. I know I have access to this. It's going to open it up. Okay, I can see all the documents that I have access to in here. Okay. All right, let's go back to Teams. Last thing in Teams is the calendar piece. It's going to be a snapshot of what your calendar looks like. in Outlook. So this is going to look very similar to the way my calendar is set up in Outlook. It just allows me, if I'm in the Teams client and I want to look at my calendar quick, I don't have to bounce around from application to application. I can actually do it right from here. If I want to do a meet now, so if I just want to have a quick impromptu meeting, maybe Holly and I just want to do a video chat or whatever and talk about something, I can click meet now. I can invite her. Oops. Oh, that's the meeting name, sorry. And then I can invite her to this meeting and start it, basically. And that's because I don't have a video or anything set up. But if you've got a video and all that on yours, you can set it up. I can also do a new meeting here, a new Teams meeting, which we'll get into here in a little bit with Outlook, but it's the exact same way here as it is in Outlook. Okay. So just a quick snapshot of my calendar. If I want to look at it in Teams, I can go out, into the future, look at next week, the week after, come back to today if I need to. All right. Files. This is basically all my Teams files, anything recently that I've worked with, and then my cloud storage. So this is all my OneDrive here. So just another spot where you can easily get access to your files without having to jump around from application to application. And you can see this is very similar to the online version. I can sync this up. I can open it in my OneDrive. I can probably right click on one of these here, actually right here, the 3 dots, and I can see a lot of different things. Now you notice I don't have version history here. So there's some things that I can't do in here, but if I open this up in OneDrive, now I can go in and I can see my version history and things like that. Okay, so that concludes Teams training. I think I covered everything. Was there anything, Holly, that I missed that we covered earlier?
I don't think so. I just was clarifying for some people. So from Teams, which is what Robert has showing now, you can access all those applications as he was mentioning. So you can access OneDrive, you can access chat, calendar, all of that type of thing from that side. It doesn't replace it. It's another way to get to it.
Yep, another access point, right? Please review the Teams call feature. Let me see if we can do that actually, because I'm not
sure. It's a little hard to
sure.
do when we're in a call right now. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's probably why. But basically, if I'm talking with Holly here, I'm just wondering if it gives me the option to call her. It doesn't not. You can typically that's up here, and they're both whited out. And I'm assuming because I don't have a microphone, speaker, or a phone access to me, but it's real easy to call someone in Teams. So no, can't even do that. So if I hover over her name and click, I'm just gonna try it and see. Yeah. So because I don't have any of the devices set up yet, you'll notice that when I went into my settings and devices, now this is gonna look very different from you. I'm using a virtual device, so I don't have anything set up for audio, speaker, microphone, or camera. If I did, all those options would come available to me, and I could easily initiate, a video chat, a meet now, but I'm going to get the same error no matter what I do here.
And again, Robert, this is one of the topics that is covered in the e-learning. They have a really great piece on this. So if you want more information on that, please go ahead and take a look at the e-learning training.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, any other questions on the Teams before we jump into Outlook? And we're right about on time because those 3 things typically take the first hour. So Outlook tends to take a little bit longer. All right, so let's minimize this down. Let's minimize this down. We're going to close down the Word document for now. Okay, so now we're back on our screen. And we're going to go back to our Microsoft Office home here. And now, on the left-hand side, again, I've got all my apps right here. I'm going to open Outlook, which I think is already open. And then I'm also going to open it up on the desktop as well. Okay, so whether you're using Chromebook, which it's going to look like this, or you're using the desktop, very similar, functionality wise, very similar. There's a few things with the desktop application that you can do that you can't do in the browser. You know, there's more menu options, things like that. Right clicking, there's a lot more you can do with a right click on a message. But you can see in the browser, I can even right click and act on messages as well. So all these things that, you know, weren't available in the past in the new versions of the online Outlook are available. So we'll, for the purpose of the training, again, we'll focus on the desktop version because there is so much more I can show you here, and I want to make sure I cover everything. But some of this stuff you may not be able to do in the browser version. So the interface itself, the program window, you know, this is what it looks like. Across the top here, I've got what's called a quick access toolbar. And those are things that, you know, I maybe commonly do, like print, save as, reply all. It's just another way to kind of do things quickly. If I look, I've also got that search window that we just talked about. This is great if I want to search for certain things. Like I know I've got some Viva messages in here. They're just not showing in my inbox, right? I may have them buried somewhere. It'll search the whole inbox and all the folders underneath it and bring up anything that has Viva in the subject, as part of the to or the from, or in the body of the email. And you can see it's highlighting all the hits that it got. So it got a hit in the to or from, I should say. It got a hit in the body of the email. So it's showing me all the instances of Viva that it found when I did the search. Okay. If I want to search for a combination, I can do that as well. So I just searched Holly and training, and it's been a popular topic for us today. So there's a lot of emails it found that have to do with that in here. Maybe I want to search on end user. How's that? And this one I'm going to put in quotes because I want it to be together. So now it hits on, you can see those two things got to be combined with a space in between, and it's going to be very specific as to what it finds in the search. Okay. So next, the next menu, if I go underneath the search, is my what's called my file menu, or my menu system in general. I've got a home, I've got send receive, I've got view. We're going to walk through that here in a minute. I've got a file menu. We're going to walk through that in a minute. And then basically underneath that, I have what's called my ribbon toolbar. Okay, that's this show focused inbox, change my view. If I go back to home, it changes. I can do a new email from here. I've got some options. I can do delete an email. I've got some options. I can move emails around. But again, it's really compacted. It's meant to give you as much space as you can have on the desktop. And some people have smaller windows, right? So this is good, right? It gives them a lot of space so they can move around and things like that. If you're someone that, like me, that wants to use the more classic type menu, ribbon menu at the top, you can see if I hover over the arrow all the way to the right, it says switch ribbon, and I can switch between the simplified ribbon and the classic ribbon. All right. So if I click that, I can see now I've got a more full featured menu, right? So I don't have to drill down and everything to delete. I can click it right here. I can click archive here. I can still move things if I need to here. I can do a new email really easy. So it's just a different way to kind of look at it. As we continue down the page, this column here on the left-hand side are all my folders in my mailbox. So if I had multiple mailboxes, they'd show up here. I only have my training user one. And I can see like a quick snapshot. My inbox is here. It's got 2 unread messages. I've got 2 in the drafts, 1 in marketing, 1 in read receipts. So I can see all my folders, all my messages. I can click on any of them, and it basically is going to flip this preview menu right here to any of those folders that I'm in or that I click on. Okay. Which is the next folder over. That's what's called the preview menu. Okay. Or preview view, I should say. And there's a couple of views here. You can see within the view, It's got a focus view, and then it's got an other view. As your mail gets migrated and as you use this more, it'll try to determine if there's messages that come through that for whatever reason probably aren't work related, and it'll move them into this other category over here. It's not going to delete them. It's not going to move them to junk. It just puts them in a place where it feels that it's probably not something that you want to see right away. Okay. And some of the other options I have, you can see, it's showing me today's mail, yesterday, Sunday, last week. I can close these down and expand if I need to. And then I can sort this by all kinds of different ways, right? Arrange by date. I can arrange by who it came from. All right. So now it's showing me my messages based on where they were from and sorting it that way. I can sort it on who I wrote a message to. So there's a lot of different things you can do by categories, size of the email, subject. This will make everything live together that has the same subject. I can do attachments, so I can sort by the largest attachment to the smallest. Maybe I'm trying to clean my email up. So all kinds of different ways that you can sort your email in your inbox here. These are the previews. Maybe I want to just, I'm at the end of the day, I'm just trying to go through and see what haven't I read, right? Where's my unread mail? Because it's all over the place. I can click unread by date, and it'll literally just give me a list of my unread copies of email. Okay. Any questions on that? And this just basically flips from the newest to the oldest and vice versa. If I'm doing from, it'll go A to Z or Z to A. So lots of different things that it can do. As we move across here, you'll see this is what's called the read window or read pane. As I select the preview messages, you see the reading pane changes. Okay, it's quick. It basically loads that message into the reading pane. All right, as I move through those. So that, and then the last navigation or window to worry about is right here at the bottom. So this little quick icon is called the navigation bar. It allows me to flip through both my mail. If I click on it, I can go right to my calendar. Take off Holly's here. I can go to my contacts, and I can go to my to-dos all right from here. Okay. There's some options in here as well. If you click navigation options, I've got, okay, so this is set to 5 right now, even though I'm only seeing 4. If I expanded that, which I'll show you, I can see, looks like my notes is going to show up as well. Okay. And you can change this. Maybe you only want mail, calendar, and people, right? Only 3. So if I say okay, and now I expand this just by hovering over it, turns into those 2 lines. I click and I can drag this over. And now you can see, I see my notes here as well, which are literally just sticky notes and things like that you can do. Okay. So let's just go back and we'll set this one back to 4. Actually, we'll set it back to 4. There we go. And we're going to pop back over to mail. So those are the different areas of the program window. At the very, very bottom, it's called the status bar. It'll tell you, you're in your inbox now. You have 11 total items in there. One of them is unread. All folders are up to date, which means it's done a sync. It's downloaded everything that you have for mail at this time. It's connected to your server, basically. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Go away. That's not what I wanted to do. But let's bring Outlook back up. And then the last thing over here is just, so I'll bring Holly's email up. The size, basically, if I want to enlarge the text, maybe I'm having trouble reading, I can make it smaller if I want to get more on the screen. Okay, so that's all that does. And every Microsoft application, whether it's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, you'll have this functionality right here for the quick zoom in and out on text. Okay, so that's the main program window. What I'd like to show you is we'll go to the view option here at the top. and there's a few settings that we can do across the top. So show as conversations is a great tool if you want to lump conversations together, right? So if I check that off, it says, do you want to do this for just this folder or everything in the mailbox? I'm just going to say this folder for now. And as I scroll down here, it looks like everything's kind of a one-off conversation, but I do have this one here that if I click the arrow next to it, it shows me all the messages that pertain to this conversation that we had. And I thought I had another one here somewhere, but anyways. So you may have like 10 or 12 replies from various different people in an email. This is really handy to kind of keep all of those things together. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck that again, and that'll move it back to the way that it was. We talked about focused inbox. What that means, if I turn that off, basically it changes it to all my mail. Doesn't matter if it's focused or other, or I can click over here and just look at my unread email. Okay, we'll switch that back as well. Message preview, as you can see, these are the previews here. It's giving me one line of the body of my email. So if I had one that was more than that, like this one's got 3 or 4 lines, if I switch this to 3 lines, just for this folder, you'll see now if I look at this here, I've got all 3 of the first lines, you know, of that email in my preview, which can get pretty busy. So most people leave this to the 1 line. It's just meant to kind of give you a quick little look of what the body of the email is like. I won't go through a lot of the arrangements. It's just sorting things like we did here. You can sort it from, okay, same thing that we did here, sort it by date. Reverse sort, you can add different columns if there's things missing. A couple of key things here. The folder pane. So we talked about that. That's this left-hand column over here. Right now it's normal. I could minimize that if I wanted more screen space. And now you can see that, you know, it's got my favorites here at the top. Inbox, sent, delete. If I go to my sent items, I go to my inbox. I can get that back by clicking this arrow here and just locking that with the pin. Or I can also get it back by changing it back over here. If for whatever reason I don't like this favorites, I can take that off, and you'll see now that it's just my mailbox with all my folders here, not just the ones that I've designated as my favorites. The reading pane is the next tool that we can change. So right now it's in the right-hand window right here. I can change it to bottom, and you'll see that it puts my message previews up the top. And as I select these, it'll put the actual reading pane in the bottom of the message. Okay, and then let's move that one back to the right. And the last thing is the to-do bar. So this one's really handy. I'm just going to turn on the calendar here and take a look at what it does. So now I'm seeing on the right-hand column, I get a snapshot of my calendar. So I can click on any day here and see my calendar for that day. It also gives me a quick little briefing or snapshot of what my week looks like as well, as far as meetings. Okay. And you'll see these are color coded. We'll go through that in a little bit, and you know why you may want to do that. If I click out into the future, like I go next week, I can see what next week looks like for meetings. Again, I can come back to today if I need to. The other things in the to-do bar, if I have people on my team that I converse with a lot, I can drop them in here as favorites. And if I could do it, I could call or I could chat them here. Just go over Holly here, and I should be able to do a chat. Default email address, phone number. Okay, not sure why, but anyways. And then the other thing I can do is add my task list or my to-dos here as well. So this will give me a quick snapshot of all the tasks that I've set up or the to-dos. All right, so I'm going to turn these back off except for calendar. I think that's a handy one to leave. So that's the views and how you can really manipulate the program, Outlook program view, and what that looks like. Like I said, a lot of these things aren't available in the online version. You know, so it's important for us not to kind of work from this one here. I can't show you everything that I can with the desktop version of Outlook. Any questions before we move along here? for Chromebook users, we have groups listed under folders. Can you review this? Groups listed under folders. What type of groups, Dorothy, are you? So if I look at folders here, like I've got a
And
human
you-
resource folder.
So from the Google Chromebook screen, it has favorites, folders, and then groups.
Okay, so favorites would be what we shut off here. So let me go back and turn that on. So favorites would be these here. Okay, so if you've got
Mhm.
favorite folders that you use quite a lot and you want them at the top, you know, some people are going to have hundreds of folders in their mailbox and it's not as easy to find their way around. So if you set the favorites here, those will be the ones that you want to access quickly. You can see folders will show up here. I can create these on the fly. So I've got a human resources one. Maybe I want to create a subfolder under that and call it, what do we want to call it? Employee manual or something. Okay, so these are just folders that I create within my mailbox, and I can store anything in these that I want. So those are folders. So favorites, folders, and then groups basically is if you're a part of a distribution list or a Teams channel, things like that, those will show up here under groups. So for my particular training account, I'm not a member of any groups. You'll likely see these once your email is migrated over. Any distribution list that you were in or any groups will show up here in the group section.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
Yep. Any other questions here on the look and feel of Outlook? One last thing to show you is the help section. So if you click help here and you click the actual help icon, it'll pop up this little window over here. And again, you can kind of go through things if you want to look at it, but if there's something that you're specifically looking for. So I want to know more about the focused inbox. I can click that. It can basically do it for me. So I can just click this do it for me button and it'll turn it on or off, or I can read how to do it myself. Okay, and it's pretty handy as far as finding really anything that you need, right? Create a view your task. So you can get pretty detailed as to what you do here in the help categories. Walk you through how to create different categories, things like that. Okay. I'm going to pause again. So help system, we show the to-do bar, searching and indexing. How are we doing on time? We're at 3:13. So basically the next couple of steps is we're going to walk through emails, you know, how to send, how to set different things in emails, how to manipulate them. We'll go through contact management and task or to-do management, and then we'll finish with calendaring because that's typically the one that gets pretty detailed and there's the most questions. So if there's no further questions, let's just see one more. We will be able to download any of the apps to the Chromebook, or we will be able to require to use just the browser versions on the Chromebooks. They don't have any local storage on them, so you can't really install any kind of apps like the desktop app that we have here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my inbox. Actually, before we do that, so one key thing around mail and some of the settings that you have in here, if you click the file menu here at the top, there's a couple key pieces in here just to highlight this automatic replies, or out of office as it's called. If you're going away on vacation or you're traveling for work and you want to just let people know that you're not going to respond to messages right away, highly recommend using the automatic reply or the out of office. If I click on the button, you'll see that I've got some options. I'm not sending anything right now, but if I want to turn this on, I can say I only want to send it from today at 3 until, let's say I'm leaving until Friday at 5. And then I can change my message, so I can have a specific message for people inside my organization. Okay. And I can also have a specific message for people outside of my organization. And this can be very different, right? They don't have to be the same. Let me just highlight this. And again, this is similar to like Word and Outlook and emails and things like that. I can do bullets. I can do color coding, bold, italicize, underline, all kinds of different options that I have. I can even include pictures in here if I want. So there's both my out of office. I've set my date range. I'm going to say okay. And now you can see that it's actually highlighted this to tell me that, by the way, automatic replies are turned on right now. And if I go back into my mail account, and if I look here, I see a ribbon at the top that says automatic replies are turned on. So people are getting those whenever they send mail to me. And if I go to the online version, it may take a minute, but it should pop up the same thing. Right there. So it's a little different in where it says it, but automatic replies are turned on. I can turn them off from here. I can turn them off from over here. So let's say I returned early, I could just come in here and turn this off and it shuts it off. The other thing inside the file menu, so if I open that up again, down the bottom here, almost the last option is options. And that is all the settings that are set for Office Outlook. So basically, you know, there's a bunch of general settings in here. I'll just scroll through these. We won't go through all of them. We just don't have the time, but I can change my username, my initials. I can change the time that it takes to mark things on red. I think it's 15 seconds by default. I can make that smaller or larger. In my mail, I can add my signatures, which we're going to go through that in a little bit as well. I can add stationary fonts, change how the reading pane looks. Here's it right here. Mark items as red when viewed in the reading pane. You know, I can say I want that to be like 30 seconds instead of 5. Okay. So there's all kinds of different things that you can do. Play a sound. Those are notifications, conversation cleanup. If I keep scrolling down here, I can set my work week in my calendar. I can do my default duration for meetings, 30 minutes. I can change that to 1 hour. Reminders I can set in here. I can add holidays to my calendar. Just do that one now. We'll do the United States holidays. And that'll go through and just add these holidays into my calendar so they're already there. I can change my options for free busy in there. I can color code different things, set my time zone. I can add a time zone. So if I have coworkers that I work with in the Oakland office, I can add that in here and just say that they're on Pacific time zone. So when I'm actually creating meetings, it'll tell me when that meeting will occur in their time zone. Groups, people, there's just all kinds of things that you can do in here. So highly recommend if you have the desktop client to just explore the different options that you can set in the Outlook client itself. Okay. So, you know, before we create a new email, you know, if we just look at the inbox here, we can see like I just got an email from Holly. You know, what if I, you know, was rushing through my day and I'm just trying to catch up on email after lunch. I know I've got meetings the whole afternoon and, you know, this is something that I want to make sure I get back to later. I can easily right click on this and mark it as unread so that it shows up in my mailbox as unread. And then at the end of the day, you know, I can just focus on my unread email and just kind of go back through and review some of these things, right? So it's a real easy thing to do. Mark is unread. You can do that up here as well, I believe, somewhere in the top here, right there, unread. So if I say Caleb, unread, Caleb, unread. So it's just a quick way to kind of work through your mailbox and, you know, make sure that you hit some of these things later, maybe. This particular document here, I sent myself multiple documents, as you can see. They've been saved already. It's trying to decide what they are. They're PDF files. I can click this arrow here. I can save this in my OneDrive or my desktop, as you can see here, or I can click it again and I can save them all. So I have options as to how I save files in here. Also, this is a link to a OneDrive file here, and this is outside of CareMedics. So this is on my Presidio SharePoint server. So if I click this, it should open it up in my Presidio SharePoint. So you can see, similar to CareMetrics, or CareMedics, I'm sorry. This one has my Presidio SharePoint repository that it's opened up for the user for this particular document. Okay. So if you come back in here, so that's basically some of the things that you can do with the files when you open them. Again, I've got the options to do reply all if it was multiple people. I could forward this to somebody else. I could share it to a Teams channel if I had one. I could schedule a meeting with Robert. There's all kinds of different things that you have for other actions here as well. Let's say I wanted to take this document, maybe they're health related documents, right? And I wanted to move it over to my human resources health docs folder. It's as simple as clicking and holding and dragging it over there and hovering over and just letting it go. And now you'll see that that document is here. It remains unread, okay, because I've set that to 30 seconds. And I have a feeling we weren't in it long enough to make it unread, but it'll show that that document's unread in that folder as well. Some other ways I can move that folder, I can right click on it and I can select move, and it gives me an option of the last few folders that I move things to. So if I wanted to move this read receipt to read receipts, I could do that just by clicking that, and you'll see that it's gone to my read receipt. If I highlight this one, there's some areas here. I can use this move menu at the top and I can move it to read receipts as well. So lots of different ways to do the same thing. Right click, using the menu option at the top, dragging and dropping, just a ton of different ways to kind of manipulate your Outlook client and move things around, whatever you're used to doing. Let's say that this was a document here that, you know, I read it, but I just want to assign a follow-up to it, right? And what this will do is it will trigger a to-do task for me. So anything that I flag is going to trigger a task in my task manager. So I'm going to say I need to follow up on this one. Let's just say this week. All right, so it highlights it. As you can see, it sets a flag on it in my email. Now I know that if I go to my to-dos later, I should see this test email right here. So it's flagging it as something that I need to do this week, okay? And we'll get into the to-dos here in a little bit. Just gonna come back to email. So let's say, you know, so this kind of explains what to do on email that comes to you. Let's say you want to create an email. So I'm gonna go to the top and I'm gonna say new email. And it opens up just a blank slate of email. I've got a few options as to how I address this. If I've conversed with people in the past, I can just start typing their name and you'll see that it pulls up Holly instantly. Melissa, Vivian. So that's one simple way to do it. If it's somebody that I haven't conversed with, there's a couple ways. I can click the address book here at the top and it shows the whole corporate address book. And now I can either scroll through or I can start typing a name. Jim Shortall. Okay. I can get my personal address book up here as well. These are people that, you know, maybe I want to send this a copy to me at Presidio. And so that's one way to address people. You can also click these buttons here. Let's say maybe I do want to send this to Jim, but I want to blind copy him. And you'll notice the BCC wasn't here before. It only shows up if people are actually in that. All right. So we'll just going to take a couple of these out here and we're going to give it a subject. All right. And then once I click in the body of the email, I've got the ability, again, nice text editor. I can do bullets. If I forget to capitalize something, it's going to do it for me just to format it as soon as I hit space like the other ones. Let's do some numbers so you can see that. And you notice I spelled that one wrong. So we'll get rid of the 3, but if I hover over that, it's going to tell me a suggestion as to what it should be. Even gives me some thesaurus about it or a dictionary if I need that. I can do larger text. So let's just go 20 and we'll make it blue and bold. Okay, so you have a lot of different things. You can include tables in here. You can include pictures, all kinds of different things you can do. As we come across the top here, notice the attached file. So if I click on that icon on the down arrow, you'll see that it basically gives me the last 10 files that I've been working with, which is handy. If you're working on a document, you know, you got to get it out at the end of the day or whatever. It's right there. You don't have to go look for it. You don't have to hunt for it. So if I want to send this file, it'll give me the options. Because it's in my OneDrive folder, it knows that, and it says, hey, do you want to share this as a link, or do you want to share this as a singular copy, right? Which means everyone's going to have their own separate copy of it. This is how we did things in the past. In Microsoft world, everybody got a copy. Nobody could co-author, things like that. Really, the new way is I'm going to remove this and I'm going to resend it again. And this time I'm going to say send as a link. Okay. So it'll actually share it and tell me, you know, what rights people have here, or anyone in the organization can edit this, and I'll send it this way. Let's just move this font back here. Or maybe I want to actually send a link to a file. So I could say same one. Now let's just send this PowerPoint here. Okay. So I insert that. Again, it tells me what people can do. This is going to be a link that they can actually go to and open up. Last thing to show you. So we showed file attachments, the various ways to do that. We've shown how to link something with either OneDrive. It could be SharePoint as well. If you've worked, like this is my SharePoint right here, folder and file. So it doesn't matter where it resides. If I've worked with it, or I can find it here just by browsing, I can insert that into the email. The last piece here is around signature. So this is an area that you'll want to pay attention to if you want to add a signature to your emails. If I click signatures, basically I don't have anything set up right now. There's some templates that you can get online, but what I'd like to do is just create one like full signature that I'll use for any new messages, and then I'll have one that I use that's just shortened version of it for my replies. So we'll just call this full signature. And what I'll do is I'll actually just include my business card in this. And I'll show you how to do this in a little bit as well. Okay, now I have to save this up here so that it's available for me next time. And then I'll create one more, and I'll just call this shortened signature. Okay, so you see it's created a new window, and this one's just going to literally be my name and maybe my cell phone number. And I'm going to save this one as well. So you can see when I created that signature, it automatically applied it here to my new messages, but I could have multiple ones here. So if I wanted 5 different signatures, I could have them. And then I'm going to automatically do the shortened one to any of my replies. Okay. And then we're going to say, okay. So because I'm already editing this email, it's not going to put the signature in here because I'm in it, but I can easily come back up here now and I see my 2 that I created, and I'm just going to insert my full signature in here. Okay. So just a heads up, I'm going to send this file over, Holly, Melissa, and Vivian. And if I look in my sent items, that's the file that I sent over. So now let's say I wanted to reply to her Happy Taco Tuesday. Let's do a reply, and you should see the simplified signature here automatically applied to that email. Okay. Some other things that I can do now that we're in here, I'm just going to pop this email out here so it's in the full screen again. I can add all kinds of different tags to the email. So let's just pop this open here. So I can say it's of high importance, low importance. I can give it some sensitivity. Maybe it's confidential. I can use voting buttons. You know, if I'm asking them how the training went, you know, I can rate it 1 to 5, whatever I want to do. I can just separate those by a semicolon and add some voting buttons in there. I can also ask for a delivery or a read receipt. Okay. So we'll do both of these so you can see how that acts. I can have replies sent to a certain person. Maybe I'm leaving for the day or leaving for a week. I can make sure that this is an important email. I know there's going to be follow-up, but make sure that, you know, one particular person gets the emails back. I can have it not be delivered until, let's say, 5 o'clock today, and it'll just sit in my outbox. And once that time hits, it'll actually deliver it at that time. So these are a lot of the different things that I can do to the email message. We'll leave the delivery receipt and read receipt on so you can see what that looks like. Okay. And we'll send this over to Holly. And you'll see as it gets delivered to her, I'll get an email back based on the delivery receipts. I actually think I created some rules earlier, which is probably going to hide some of these, but it'll be a good test.
Do you want me to wait before I respond or just go ahead and respond?
Yeah, why don't you wait? I'll take this rule out and then we'll
Okay.
walk through how to create the rule again. Okay, go for it.
Okay.
So you can see that, you know, it's at least been delivered to her mailbox here, telling me that it's been delivered to Holly. And as soon as she opens that message,
Sorry, I'm getting there.
that's okay. She'll get a prompt, you know, that I'm sending her a read receipt. Does she want to accept that? She doesn't have to. She can say no, and I'll never see anything here on the other end. So.
Yep, it asked me.
Okay, good. And I should get something back here in a second. So Cassandra, you asked where are the signature requirements located? I'm not sure I can answer that. Is there any requirements around that or templates?
There are. We're going to use the same signature requirements that we currently have for CareMedics. And if for some reason it doesn't copy over, because I'm hoping it's going to copy, but if it doesn't, all you need to do is go into your Google, copy your signature, and copy it into Outlook.
Perfect.
There's also a lesson plan on the specifics, and also there's a document in Litmus for it as well.
Yes, there's work instructions on how to set up things, Angela. It's just that it's written in Google, you know, how to do it in Google. So we need to have it rewritten for Microsoft.
Perfect. If an email is accidentally sent, do you have the option to recall? Yes, you do. That's a good question because no one else has asked that yet. And I just need to remember how to do that. It's buried in one of these folders here somewhere. There we go. So if I sent this message, let me just walk back. So I kind of clicked through it quick. So I just want to make sure you understand. So let's just say I sent this message to Holly and I realized, I didn't want to send this, right? What I have to do, the steps that you have to do to recall a message is you have to go to your sent items first. So in my sent items, it shows me all the messages that I sent already. And if I double click on this message to open it up, then I have this actions item here that shows up on the message. And I can either say resend this message to somebody else, or I can recall it. Typically, recall is what you're going to use the most. And so when I say recall, you can see at least one recipients have already read it. So then you have to make a decision. Does it make sense to even recall the message? You know, I can delete unread copies. So if Holly read it, but Vivian didn't, it'll delete Vivian's copy, but obviously it won't delete Holly's. Or I can delete it and replace it with maybe the message that I really wanted them to read. So I have a bunch of different options I can do around recalling. And then I can have this checkbox set off just to tell me if the recall succeeds for each recipient. So I will say that. Let me know if you get a message saying I tried to recall that message, Holly.
I did. I
Okay,
did.
perfect. So, and that's what the user will see on the other side is, you know, Robert Phillips is trying to recall a message that he sent to you. Good question. We haven't had that one yet. Okay, so that's the recall. You can find the email request. Okay, good. I see that. And you sent the link. All right. So no more questions, I don't think, on email. You may have saw that, like when we were doing the read receipts, there was a rule that we had in there. I just want to show you. I'm going to take this read receipt here and move it back to the inbox. All right, and we're going to do the same thing with this one. So one thing you can do if you want to, you know, start to kind of keep your mailbox clean is you can create rules, and there's a bunch of ways that you can do that. So I can right click on this and I can go to my rules here and create a rule, or I can come up here on the menu bar and I can create a rule here. So we'll go with the menu bar. So basically it sets a script off that gives you a bunch of questions and answers. It's really easy to create rules. So when I get an email with all of the selected conditions, so I can say it has to come from Holly, it has to have this subject, it has to be sent to me only, or I could say anything that comes through that has the subject of read receipt. What do I want to do? Display a new item, play a sound, or do I want to, I'm going to choose to move this to my folder called read receipts. And if that's not the folder I want, I click select folder. It shows me all my folders that I have, and I can pick whichever folder I want to move that to. All right, so then I say okay. And it's going to say the rule read receipt has been created. Do you want to run this now on any messages that are already in your folders? So I'm going to say yes. And those two messages that I moved back into my inbox now should show up in my read receipts. Okay, there's one and there's the other one. So anything that comes into my inbox that has read receipt in the subject line is automatically going to get moved to this read receipt folder here. So it's just a real tidy way to kind of keep organized in your mailbox and your inbox folders, things like that. Okay. We went through the address book, previewing, printing messages. I think, how are we doing on time? We got about 20 minutes left. So quickly, we'll go through, before we jump into calendar, we'll just go through contacts really quick. So if I look at the navigation bar at the bottom, these are my personal contacts. You may say, well, what's the point? A lot of these people are in my, corporate global, but if I want to have these people on my phone, if their phone number's in there, things like that, that's one of the reasons that I'd want to put them in my personal contact folder. You don't have to retype all the information. So if I open this up, I see all of Holly's information in here. The simplest way to get Holly into my contact is to just right click on her name. So if she sent me an email, I can, up here in her to-do, I can right click on her name and you can see that. And I can just add her to my address book. Now, it doesn't give me that option because she's already there. Let me just remove her. And we'll recreate her in here. All right, so there's Holly. Right click, open contact card. Should give me the option to add you. Maybe it won't now that I deleted you. There we go, add to contacts. So that'll open up her contact file. I just say save and close. And now if I look back in my personal contacts, there she is, she's back there. Okay, I have the ability to create groups. So if I want to create like a marketing group, a distribution list, or human resources or product development, I can do that. And then I just, in the members section here, whoops. Contact group, okay, there's my name. I don't know why it's, oh, add members, sorry. So I'll basically pick the global address book. Okay, so now I've created a product development group and these are the members within that group. So if you want to create distribution lists, things like that, you can do that. or groups. And then also you'll see I've got a human resources group here. It tells me who the members are. I've got a marketing group. Now I have a product development group and a training team group. Okay. Contacts, pretty straightforward. Like I said earlier, you saw that business card. If I open up my contact here, shows you everything. I can do a save as here, and it will save basically what's called a virtual business card. And then you can use that similar to what I did in my signature, things like that, so that you can send that off to people. And the beauty of that is if you send it to another Outlook user, I think even a like Gmail user, excuse me, will be able to open that up and actually save that as a contact within their personal address book as well. Okay. Any questions on contacts before we jump into to-dos? No. All right, so the next function over is our task or to-do list. These are pretty straightforward and simple. Like I said, anything that you flag in your inbox or anything like that will automatically be set up as a task. I can just simply create new task as well. Okay, I can give it a start date, an end date, in progress, completed, percentage-wise complete, priority. I can set myself a reminder. You know, this is due tomorrow, so please remind me at 8 a.m. again. Or I can assign this to somebody else, right? Let me just fix that. So I can say assign this task to whoever. So I'll assign this one to Melissa. It's due in 2 days. She's going to be happy that she's getting a new car. Okay, so real easy to do to-do list. If you're working from the Chromebook, we go back to the Microsoft Home here. Actually, where's my Outlook? Right here in Outlook. There's my to-do list here. It's just a blue check mark in here. Very similar. Again, all my tasks assigned to me are here. Anything that I have planned. Anything that I've flagged. So there's my email that I flagged earlier. I can group my task here, which is kind of nice. So I can have a task list. So I've got this migration task here, and it's got those two tasks grouped within it. I can assign tasks in here to people as well. So a lot of the same functionality in the online to-do versus the to-dos in the Outlook client. Okay. Any questions on tasks, to-dos, contacts before we jump into calendaring? So calendars, you'll see in here that, you know, this shows me a snapshot of my week. Across the top here, I can do a new appointment. Again, this is just more personal type things. You're not really inviting anybody to these. Okay, maybe next, whatever, Tuesday at lunch, I've got a basketball game at the Y or something, right? For an hour and a half. All right, so I'm gonna create this. It's you know, really not work related, but I want to make sure my calendar is blocked out. I can categorize this. We talked about the categories before. You saw that my calendar is color coded. You know, I've got some things in there, executive meetings, private meetings, which this would be, training. I got all kinds of categories. I can customize them however I want with whatever color I want, right? For this one in particular, I'm going to mark it private. And then I'm also going to mark it private in the meeting, which means if I hover over this, it'll show up, it'll block my calendar, but people won't be able to see the details of it. Okay. So I'm going to mark this private and I'm going to save this. And then if I go out next week, I should see, oh, I've got a doctor's appointment at the same time. We'll just move this over to Wednesday. So I can literally drag this on my calendar wherever I want it to be. Okay, and it'll just move it over. And if I double click to open it again, you'll see it's moved it to Wednesday at the same time. Everything else stays the same with the meeting. Okay, so let's just come back to today. So that's an appointment. we'll work through meeting here in a minute. Just want to kind of show you the different views. So if I want to look at my next 7 days from today, I click this and it'll go out Tuesday all the way to next Monday and show me my calendar. I can look at just my work week. I can look at the entire 7-day week, Sunday through Saturday. I can look at the whole month and see all my meetings, or I can look at basically a swim lane calendar view. So we'll go back to work week. Like I said, you can see these ones here are marked training. They're green. If I right click on those, I look at the categories. It's already set for training. This one here is a training session. So let's go in and set this one for training. And this one here is a training session. We'll set that for training. Okay. So that's how you categorize different meetings. If for whatever reason that I had a meeting that was on my calendar and I either accepted tentatively or didn't accept anything at all or respond to it, it would show up here. You can see kind of looks like a candy cane here on the side of that meeting, and that's designated that I've only accepted that tentatively. It's not penciled in or accepted formally yet. Okay. And then the last piece of this is around setting up a new meeting. So if I click new meeting here, I can give it a title. Okay, so I just want to set up a recap of the training for the Mac users. I'm going to require Holly on it and Melissa. And okay. If I want to make Jim optional, I can do that. And he's not required, but and then basically, you know, I can pick a time, and you'll notice over here, it's doing some suggested times for me over on the right here. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. It's saying I could do it today at 4 to 4:30, but there's 2 conflicts. I could do it tomorrow. Up here, it's basically saying, I'm just going to show you the next month or so, and I'm going to color code it with the days that look good, right? So anything in white is a good day. Anything in light blue is fair. Works for most people, but not for everybody. This particular date that's dark blue, the 14th, means it doesn't really, there's no times on there that'll work for everybody. So we're just going to pick Thursday. And we can see that, actually, let's pick Friday. So we'll pick Friday morning, 10 to 10:30. Okay, because I know that's free. Now, if I wanted to actually go out beyond this and just look at everybody's calendar schedules, if I click the scheduling assistant here up at the top, you'll see that it shows me a snapshot of everybody's calendar and the meetings that they have, and I can go out as far as I want and look for meeting slots that might be open for everybody. So here's a half-hour slot on the 15th. Looks like it's open for everybody, and I can just pick that, and now it's changed the meeting time to then. So let me come back here. I'm just going to remove Jim, and then I can send this out. It's got my Microsoft Teams meeting link in here, so everybody can join that meeting just by clicking the link to Teams. You'll also have an option here to insert a Zoom meeting in here as well, so you don't lose that functionality anywhere. I can also include, if I click the insert button here, I can include files, bookmarks. Here's my link to all my training syllabus. So there's my document I want to share for this meeting. I can put an agenda in here if I want. Lots of different things that you can do with the meeting. And I will send this out because it's saying I haven't sent this yet. All right, that's sent. Now, which meeting did you decline? I want to go back and look at that. So Holly declined this weekly M365 status meeting. So one thing is if you're creating meetings and where is it? Right here, this one. So if you're creating meetings and you're trying to figure out like who's accepted, things like that, if you open that original meeting that you did up, so this is a series, but I'm just going to open this one here. Again, it was Caleb and Holly. I can come all the way over to tracking here, and I can see who's accepted the meeting and who hasn't. Even though she hasn't, it's still showing up. So maybe it was one of the future dates. Or maybe it was the entire series.
Do you want me to do it for the one you just sent?
Yeah, if you want to, yeah, actually you want to do that or do tentative, whatever you want. That way I can show the tracking on it.
Okay.
Oops, I just closed Outlook down. And I know we're running up against time here, so we are wrapping up. We'll have time for any other questions. All right, so
Yeah, we got 10 minutes.
Thursday Mac user recap, she marked as tentative. So if I go back into my calendar and I'm looking at that meeting, which is right here, and I just want to say, okay, this meeting's coming up in a half hour. I don't think I've heard back from anybody yet. Like I can come in here in the tracking and I can see who's responded, if they've accepted, declined, or if they were tentative. Okay. All right. And same thing, if somebody sends you a meeting invite, let me just go into ones that I've deleted. So if this is a meeting that Holly sent me, if I don't do anything, it leaves it as tentative in my calendar. As you can see right here, I can accept that meeting. And when I accept it, I can edit the response back. I can send just a blank response or just that I accepted it, or I don't have to send anything. I can just accept it. She may not see something in her inbox, but she has that ability to go into tracking and see who's accepted and who hasn't, right? And I can just basically move across with tentative. I get the same exact options for that. Decline, same thing. You know, if you decline something, maybe you want to include a note as to why you can't make that meeting. So you can just edit that. I have a doctor's appointment or something at this time. Okay, and she'll get a message basically saying why I declined that meeting. The other thing you can do is propose a new time. So maybe that time doesn't work for you or somebody filled it up. You can say tentative and basically propose a new time for that meeting. So if I look at this request here, let's just go out to tomorrow at 9 a.m. Okay. Or Thursday, yeah, tomorrow at 9 a.m. And basically I say I propose that. Once I hit enter, it creates a message automatically for me that just says new time proposed. This was what the current time was for the meeting. This is what I'm suggesting we meet right here. And I can send that back to her. If she agrees, she can literally click a button and it will automatically update the meeting invite with the new time. Okay, so let's go back to calendar here. Just make sure there's nothing else that we want. Oh, the share calendar. So a couple things here. I can add other folks' calendar, you know, basically from the address book. You know, anybody I work with, I can pick and add their calendar. So for instance, I've got Holly here. And based on the way Holly shares her calendar with me, it just shows me like when she's busy. So I can look at her calendar and see like all of these dates here. She's busy. She's got one slot here on Wednesday, but it gives me a quick idea of what her calendar looks like. Same thing with Melissa, if I want to open hers up. Okay, I can see, you know, when she's busy this week. So it's really handy if you're looking at multiple calendars. In the same token, if you want to share your calendar with other people, you can do the share calendar here. And basically the options that you have by default, everybody in your organization can only see when you're busy, which is what you just saw. I can change that. I can say they can see the titles and the locations. Maybe I want them to see all the details of the meetings. Or maybe somebody that I work with, I want to make sure that they can edit those meetings, right, for me on my behalf. So Holly, I've given, you know, specifically the can view all details in any of my calendar. Okay. So that's how you would share your calendar. That's how you'd add somebody else's calendar to your view, basically. Okay, we've got time for a couple questions here. Are meetings automatically saved to the individual calendars? Tentatively, they are. So if you send somebody a meeting request, by default, it's going to tentatively save it in their calendar. It's really up to them to respond in a way so that you know and they know whether or not they're going to attend that calendar or that invite. Any other questions around the calendar? All right.
I was just concerned because of how you showed going, week to week to week to see someone's availability. So I was concerned because if they don't definitively accept it, then you run the risk of maybe double booking a
Yep.
meeting for a time. Okay.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Or, you get people that don't check calendars and they just book the meeting without checking. So you're going to get all the tools to really create a nice experience for each other, as long as everybody does, what you're supposed to. If you make sure you check to make sure the person has free time, otherwise they could decline the meeting and you have no idea why, right? And that happens a lot. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure you respond, either accept it, if you're double booked, maybe tentatively, and send a message back. Hey, I'm not sure I can make this. I'm already booked at this time. Is there any other time that you could use, or propose a new time? Earlier in the settings, I just want to point something out. We had set up the 2 time zones. So you can see here in my calendar, when I look at it, where my mouse is right now, I've got my Boston Eastern time zone here. And now I've also got my Oakland time zone. So it'll show me what time these meetings are for my West Coast users. Any other questions?
Nothing?
Awesome. Quiet bunch.
All right. Well, everyone, a couple things I wanted to let you know. We sent out an email today that we introduced a new email box that is O365. Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong. It's O365 migration questions, I believe, at caremedics.com. If you have any further questions that aren't answered here, you can feel free to send us an email at that email box. But also, please, please, please remember, we do have all that great e-learning available from Presidio. So if you go to your CareMedics bookmarks and click on your Azure, you'll see the e-learning icon there. Please click on it. We have this wonderful training we'll have for a year. So please go in there, and there is training on just about everything you can imagine. So please take advantage of that. Also, Melissa has done an amazing job writing a lot of FAQs with our end user services team. So hopefully all your questions will be answered prior to the migration. So if you have any further questions, though, please feel free to reach out to us. All right, anything else before we leave, or are we all set? All right, well, I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for coming today.
Yes, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you. Nice
Thank
job.
you.
Thank
It was good to see you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.